Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Shout out to you on my Patreon, my first class Jet Black Airways passengers. You get the full version of this, and I'm not planning on making it long, but I do plan to go into exactly why it is that you got this right, and who I'm not exonerating, and why I'm not exonerating the other ones I'm not exonerating either. In a nutshell, let me get to it. And yes, please hit the share button for this one because the Patreon should grow. It absolutely should. This is the deal, gentlemen. To make a long story short, when you leave with a passport and you look forward to, whether it's the reason you're leaving or it is just something to which you look forward to when you leave for another reason, or if it is one of multiple reasons for which you are leaving, once you bounce out of the West with a passport, you actually have every moral right to talk bad about Sapphire. And as a matter of fact, you got every right to talk bad about Sapphire before you leave. I'm not saying that you always should. It depends on the kind of time you have, what else you got going on. But you have a moral right to do it, and don't let any sister tell you otherwise. See, they've been talking bad about you for decades. They've been talking bad about me too, whether I count as a black man or not. Now, I count myself as one, but whether I count in their eyes as a black man or not, they've been talking bad about me too. One thing about which I plan to record later is that when it comes down to it, you can't communicate properly with a Western woman. And that's one thing I need to specify. I'm talking about the Western woman in general. You can't talk to that bitch. Oh, that bitch will misunderstand everything you tell her. You might as well talk to a four-legged hyena on the savannah. Absolutely, boy. See, the thing is, people might think I'm sitting up here and letting Karen off the hook if they hear this for the first time, but you're my Patreon passengers. You're my first class flyers on Jet Black Airways. Y'all know me well enough now to know, even electronically, y'all know me well enough now to know I don't let that white bitch off the hook either, and I'm not going to. She could, I mean, I'll tell Sapphire she could eat a Johnson, but I'm not really going to promote even that proximity to fornication in a literal sense. But I'll tell Karen she should choke on it and pass away. I don't mind saying that. And that's because I maintain that Karen got Sapphire started. And I'm sure Sapphire's taught Karen a thing or two as well. I'm sure that they've traded lessons on this, but I don't think that Sapphire necessarily got Karen started. That I don't think was the case. When you talk to a Western woman, they read too much into everything you say. It's just that white women tend to be a bit more careful with black men, so they don't start off doing that. That comes later when they got real familiar with you and they're ready to move on to the phase of taking you for your stuff. That's different. You know, the phase that precedes Nicole Brown's divorce from O.J. Simpson. I mean, but that stage comes later. You start off with that with Sapphire. And that's one reason why you got every right to talk bad about her even before you're on your way out. Tactically speaking, it's better to lay low. Morally speaking, you got every right to talk all kinds of cash fit about her, because you know as well as I do that Bat Fitch is she just gonna run off at the mouth. She ain't gonna stop. She ain't gonna fuck to shuck up. She ain't done it in decades. And the other thing is that with the internet being relatively new in human history, remember, as hard as it is to imagine life without this much information at your fingertips, remember that remember that 3 decades ago, it was not a household. You could argue about stats, and the stats at that time were always to the disfavor of black men when compared and contrasted to black women in the West. All the time, no exceptions. They simply just wouldn't tell the truth. Someone lied, and a bunch of sisters believed the lies at that point because, hey, we didn't have the stats at our fingertips. I get it. It's not right, but I get it. But now look, man, foot the work. Seriously? That's what we doing? I'm sitting up here and I'm looking at sisters with the foolishness. And now they want to record and aim cameras at themselves and say things about how you don't need to badmouth them on your way out. The ones that did this probably grew up with the internet, and that's exactly by the work. They should know why we have every right. If they had fucked the shuck up, or if they had even so much as said, look, the previous generations did this stuff, just leave our generation out of it. We can't stop you, and we're not going to push you out either. You must choose for yourself. If these younger generations of sisters had simply said that, we could have said, okay, you know what? Fair enough. We're not going to badmouth you for the most part, but just don't take training from the elders. If you really mean well, you will follow us to a third world nation and learn traditionalism from them. But we're not going to badmouth you till you start with foolishness and the shuck fit. But you know what? These younger ones are sitting up here. Who do they learn from? They know mama, grandma, auntie, older cousin, big sis taught them all kinds of stuff. They know this. They're still in their 30s talking this stuff where you ain't got to bad mouth us on your way out. We don't have to, but we got every right, because you know mother cuss word well. Grandmama, mama, auntie, big sis, big cousin sat in that kitchen with you when you were playing with dolls as a kid. Too young to be guilty, and for which we don't blame you, but you know that they did it. Now you want to sit up and tell us that we shouldn't badmouth them while you know mother cuss word well they sat there and badmouthed us. What happened when that football player had a cardiac arrest on the field? The attitude that many white men had that the game should go on was not countered by many sisters, because as much as we are machines for the entertainment and the bloodthirst of massa, Sapphire is even worse. The only reason you didn't have sisters saying the same thing about this was because a lot of them don't watch sports. That's the only reason. They don't mind telling you to get your butt out there and get killed or even paralyzed for their convenience. They don't mind this. Basic compassion for us is lacking. They don't feel a guck. And as a matter of fact, they like it. Why do you think drug dealers start getting caught on anonymous tips when they start getting romantically involved with sisters? And she learns about him enough to know where he hides some of the money. She calls and makes the anonymous tips so that he gets caught with something. And then she the main one holding him down while he in the joint, but she's spending the money. And she ain't gonna be faithful while he's locked up in the joint. And she'll spend his money to pay another dude to slide in and blow her back out. The drug dealer had to pay her. But when she knocks him off of the throne from which he can access his own money, now she gonna pay someone else. And she ain't gonna say nothing about it, because that's not the money for which she had to work. That's just the money for which she had to make an anonymous phone call to the DEA or to the narcotics division of the local police department, call it in anonymously. So she ain't have to work for it. That's okay. She ain't gonna complain about that. But when she starts having to work for that money, she doesn't want to spend it even on a collect phone call to a man or from a man. Now she gotta work for that money. She don't want her man calling her collect from the prison. I gotta pay for this call. Oh, don't get it twisted. Yeah, I remember the story about an inmate in New York where they have conjugal visits. And this inmate in New York had found a pen pal. They fell in love, got married, conceived a daughter on one of the conjugal visits. And then later she was like, I'm leaving because that's real money that's got to go into them collect phone calls. The fantasy's over. Now I got this girl to raise. Oh, so for financial reasons, it's okay for you to divorce from this inmate. That's what you've been all this time. They view you the same way that a white NFL coach or that Skip Bayless looks at his Crimson Q had to talk about that. I knew that from before. You've really been given a bad deal to the point that when most of you get the passport, you bounce, you don't say anything. Except to educate another guy. You don't say anything, and you're actually being very nice by not doing it. Morally speaking, more men need to do so on their way out. Austin Holloman set up telling men, listen, you still got to brush your teeth and practice hygiene. See, that's not enough for the sisters. Why? Because they don't want that. What they want is they're waiting on someone to come along and still badmouth men only and let them off the hook completely. They're looking for Austin Holloman to go back to Dallas, cutting hair and saying, it's you men, it ain't the women. Women been all right, it's you dudes. They're looking for that. Man, look. I'm telling you, don't do that. So anyway, thank you for listening again. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you for flying Jet Black Airways with us again, especially you on first class, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jet black with me until the wings and the wheels fall off. Justice forever.